Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, I can almost talk this morning. With me today, good friend and special guest, Russ Cook with Russ Cook & Associates over in Brentwood, Tennessee. Russ is a board-certified estate planning attorney. He's been in business for over 30 years. He's excellent at what he does. I highly recommend him. And again, if you'd like, you can go direct to, of course. You can find Russ Cook & Associates over in Brentwood. You can go through our office if you'd like to take advantage. Russ has been generous for any clients that go through us, comes into the office for a consultation. Yeah, he waive his fee for that, and this will give you an opportunity to not only get the estate or the financial planning part in, but the estate planning, which we always do with my clients anyway. All my clients, one of the areas that we get into is, of course, estate planning. It's making sure after you've got everything else set up, what do you want to have happen during your life, getting that estate planning done. And in the estate planning, again, it deals with things sometimes for periods of incapacity, as an example. So that's dealt with. And we've got a number of situations over the years that this has happened. I've got a client right now, as an example, who had a stroke some years ago, and he's in assisted living. He's not able to be home or live independently any longer. And his estate planning has really helped in terms of his successor trustee now being able to take care of and manage business affairs, take care of medical things, a lot of stuff that's covered through a good estate plan. It's making it so much, his quality of life is so much higher as a result of that, and we don't have the stressors that you could get into. In particular, imagine at a time your loved one is just is still recovering from a stroke, and you're restricted from being able to get into certain assets. A power of attorney, for instance, is one area that having at least that level in there. In particular, just like a retirement account, as an example. Let's say you're a married couple. You get joint assets. You can certainly access those kind of things, your joint accounts. But what about those retirement accounts? What if you need to get in to access some funds, especially in a situation like that where you've got a medical emergency and you're not able to get at them because even though you're married, right, it's their account. And unless you have at least a power of attorney, you're not going to be able to access it. And then you're going to be dealing with a conservatorship, having to go apply to go through a probate process where you're going to get appointed conservator over your spouse just to be able to take care of the family, in essence, assets. It's kind of crazy. And you're going to need attorneys, and you're going to need probably maybe even accountants. You got to report to the state, what you're doing with your money. I mean, just imagine. I mean, it's a nightmare. Why go through that? Just getting your estate plan done. If you're going to do the power of attorney piece, or in fact, typically when we do, I talk about the 5 essential documents I mentioned earlier that form the foundation of a good estate plan. Of course, with Russ, he's doing a package for you. So when you're typically getting that estate plan done, if you're getting a trust done, as an example, all the other documents are included with that. So it's a great opportunity for you to take advantage there. Again, call my office if you need some help with that, 615-376-5325. We get you in to get Russ in to meet with us together, as well as we can do the foundations as far as that financial plan. We can get you in, get you started there, help you with all those areas, and then bring Russ in as well. So we've talked about some different, we'll finish this off. On this 615-376-5325, there's a number on your screen. When you call in, by the way, what we're going to do is we're going to gather some information. So we're going to send you out a checklist of things that we're going to need to do this kind of planning. Now, of course, if we're talking about reviewing your estate planning documents, you'll need to bring in your estate planning document. That's going to be part of it, right? And when you do come in, we're going to do, again, a very comprehensive plan. It typically takes at least 2 or 3 visits to do. I'm happy to put the time into that for you, but it is going to require obviously some time on your part as well. But in the end, you're going to have something of true value that's going to be able to help you throughout your life. So, again, 615-376-5325. And when you do come in, I'll also give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. And we cover all the different planning steps, IRA mastery, how to minimize taxes on your retirement accounts. Think of that. You got $1 million in a retirement account. Do you really? If you've got a traditional retirement account with $1 million in it, what tax bracket might you be in? Okay, what if you're at 25%, let's say? Okay, well, 22 now, it will be 25 in a few short years. 25%, that's $250,000 on $1 million. So you really have $750,000. Have you thought about that? The money that's actually going to be able to be used by you. And depending on your tax planning, You could end up paying, depending on how much you take out at what given time, you may push you into even higher brackets. So imagine paying a third of that money. Okay, 350,000, let's say, or more. You get into excise taxes and such. So this is an area that's so important to understand, because it's not just what you make, it's what you keep. And if you want to keep more, tax planning is an important part of that. So again, all of that for you. Isn't that easy? We'll make it as easy as we can. Just give the office a call, and I'll look forward to seeing you. All right. One of the areas that I wanted to get into, Russ, is on the advanced side is Roth conversions. This is an area, and when it comes to the estate planning piece, Roth conversions can help a lot, again, with regard to this 10-year rule, and at least in terms of minimizing taxes. When we're thinking of taxes now, it's not just what tax I'm going to pay this year. Sometimes doing a Roth, in fact, this year when taxes are historically low rates, and we know, we've already heard the current administration saying they're going to raise taxes, and we know even if they didn't do anything sooner, that in about, what, 5 years, in 2026, they're going to go up anyway, all right, because we're going to have that sunset provision, and you're going to see a tax increase. If you're in a 12% bracket right now, as an example, for a married couple that's making about $100,000, that's going to go up to 15%. So think about that. That's a 25% increase in your tax rate. All right, and a 22% bracket. So for those that are over 100,000, and many of you, especially if you got dual incomes and stuff, you're going to fall into that. So now you're looking at a 22 going up to a 25%, and 24 is going to go up to 28, and so on up the ladder. All right, so, and that's if they don't do anything, and they are likely to increase taxes. They've said as much. I believe them. So this is a good time to start thinking in things of that tax planning. How can I think not just of taxation this year, next year, and the next few years, but over my lifetime, and even over my children's lifetime. I can think out longer for my family. How long might these assets last? If I wanted, would it be a good idea to minimize taxes then over the long term? And that's where Roth conversion strategies can come in. At least now with the 10-year rule, they can leave that money in there for that full 10 years, and then when it comes out, it's going to come out as a tax-free asset. Okay, so they maximize the tax-free growth, take it out tax-free. Now we have to figure out, you know, how we invest going forward, but at least we've gotten a big chunk moved ahead over having to pay even higher taxes on it, especially later. So Russ, how does the Roth factor in when it comes to the what we were talking about earlier with regard to distributions from the accounts?
Well, the conversation we had concerning having to force the income out to the child in order to get the lower tax rate, that goes away with a Roth, meaning that since the funds are coming out income tax free, you are free to leave those assets in the trust and not worry about what tax rate the trust is going to pay or what tax rate the individual beneficiary is going to pay, because there's no tax at all. So we are trying to encourage clients, if they're able to try to convert these traditional IRA assets to Roth IRA, because paying the tax now is a much better bet and allowing for the asset to grow income tax free than just waiting until you pass and then having your kids deal with all of this.
And this is one of the areas, when it comes to doing Roth conversions, we don't have to necessarily do it all in 1 year. So again, let's say in that example I used earlier, if you had $1 million in a retirement account, we don't have to convert the whole $1 million and maximize the tax on the conversion. We would in fact do an analysis where we determine how much we want to convert each year going forward to try to balance out and minimize the tax as we go. So it's just, and that Roth analysis is a part of the financial planning that we do, is helping you see if that strategy would work for you, and then how much to do each year for your specific situation, of course, to minimize taxes. So one of the things there, Roth conversion strategy is another great one, especially now with the new Secure Act. And Russ, are you running into any other kinds of issues now? I imagine you're doing more reviews with clients that had their plans put in place before the Secure Act. What types of things are you running into there?
Well, now that we have these changes in the tax law, and some good, some bad, we're trying to make sure that the current document, or the documents that we've prepared for the client, are updated to the current law changes. And the Secure Act obviously is one of them, and we have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Is the client married? Does the client have adult kids? Does the client have minor kids? Because there are different rules relative to minor children when it comes to the payout. You can actually stretch it out over their life expectancy with the right type of trust planning for a minor beneficiary.
This is one of those areas. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're going to take a quick break, but one of the areas that you're talking about is anybody that's had your estate planning done. If you haven't had it done, of course, obviously this is a great time for that as well. But if you had your estate planning done prior to or from 2019 or before, at the very least, you need to get in and get a review and see what the impact of these changes are on your planning. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap that up for you. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.